Well, hello, good morning, or whatever time it is when you might be watching, and welcome to the channel and to finally some new landscape photography. Now, this waterfall, in my experience, sometimes could be a bit short on the water. I've been here a few times in the past and I've never really photographed it before because it's hit or miss on how much water is in the waterfall, as well as just because this is a large popular park and I usually like to try to photograph more obscure places. Not that big places like this can't have really nice scenery, but when you're setting up photos and taking videos and things, it's hard to find a time when you're not in anybody's way. So this is a weekday morning and I've gotten here right as the park is opening, and you know, there's already a few people out here trying to get their morning exercise, and so I have to try to stay out of their way. You know, don't want to be blocking the trail if somebody's trying to be jogging through or anything like that. I'm Emmett, and professionally I'm a software developer, but my free time I love making YouTube videos about landscape photography, photo editing, photography gear, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and now let's get back to the video. My intention here is to find an overlook over the falls. So there's two options, and I may try to get a photo at both places. But you can either go down to the base of the falls, down some steps, or the path also runs along across the top of the falls. It's not real far either way, so I'll probably try to at least show you guys both places and take a few photos both places. But that's my plan here, is to probably go to the overlook at the top of the falls and see how that looks, and maybe shoot some photos down toward the fall that way. Really, this would be a lovely park just to do some woodland photography at as well. Run into the same issue there with finding the best time to do it, but this does seem like a pretty good time to be here. And I mean, as you can see behind me, there's just really lovely woods and scenery here. We tend to have in this area a lot of undergrowth under our forests, and this one really is not too bad in that department. It looks pretty clean. You can get a good view under the trees, and so it'd probably be really cool to just shoot some photos of these trees in this woods sometime as well. All right, guys, we are here. It is 8:15 in the morning, so about 2 hours after sunrise now, and I don't know if you can hear it, but there is water falling from the waterfall. I can hear it as I'm walking up right now. And so what I'm gonna do is just head over to the overlook here. That's kind of my primary objective for photographing this morning, I think. So I'm gonna head over there, see what that looks like, maybe get a few shots, and then I can also take some stairs that are over to my left, go down to the base of the fall and see what it looks like from down there, and possibly get a few shots down at the base of the falls as well. It's a beautiful morning, and at least at this moment, I'm feeling really good about this photo shoot. I think I'm going to be able to get some great shots. The downside of a well-maintained park is someone seems to be out here doing a bit of trimming or some kind of landscaping in the woods, so. Alright, time to get the camera set up here and take some photos over this railing looking down at the waterfall. I've got the tripod set up and hopefully I can get a few longer exposures, get kind of some nice smooth water out of the falls there. Always make sure your lens is clean. Make sure the camera's locked in, don't let anything fall in. So what my camera was on initially when I got here was spot reading. Just happened to be that from some other photos I had taken. But I can see that there's a lot of contrast between the bright trees that the sun is hitting over the waterfall and the waterfall itself, which is down shaded behind some rocks. So what I'm going to do is switch the camera to the highlight weighted metering. And that's going to make it try to expose for those highlights at the top. And so there'll be hopefully a nice exposure, and then the waterfall itself might look a little bit darker in the photos. If it looks too dark, I can pull up the shadows a lot more easily than I can recover any highlights. That's true of most cameras, and especially with this one. It really doesn't recover highlights terribly well, but it's surprising how much you can get out of the shadows. The other thing that I think I'm going to do here is change my composition a bit because of this plant that's right here. And you can see it right there as well. That is just kind of from this angle right in front of the waterfall. So I'm going to move around a little bit and just try to make sure that that and nothing else are really blocking the shot. Make sure I get a nice clean shot. There's probably not going to be too much in the way of different compositions just because of all the railings and everything that's here. There's a narrow spot where you can actually stand on the top of the cliff and view the waterfall. And so there's not going to be a lot of variety, but I'm going to get a couple of different shots of that. Probably won't talk about those too much. I don't think there's anything real exciting there. And then I'll try to go down to the base of the falls, see what that looks like, and get a couple of shots down there as well, since it is flowing so well today. There's been a lot more rain lately. So like I said earlier, this waterfall tends to be a bit dry, but just in the last few days it's rained quite a bit, and so I was hoping, and I think that it did, fill up the waterway that feeds the waterfall a little bit to make it just flow a little bit better. So a couple shots up here, a couple shots down below, and then I'm going to get back home and probably be able to start my workday at a relatively normal time because I got out pretty early for this. Morning. Nope, you're good. So let me just show you the setup and the first composition here. So here's the setup I've got going. I put out the arm of the tripod just to stretch out over the railing a little bit. That's a trick I like to use sometimes when I want to get out over the railing, get a little bit better of an angle here over this foreground, but I still want the camera on the tripod for longer exposures and things. And then just to weight it down, I hung my camera bag up from a carabiner to the anchor point on the tripod, and that's just helping hold the tripod a little bit steadier. Here's the initial composition here, and so basically that's just cropping out the foreground that you've got down here. So there's all this stuff up front, and I was able to get around it, which was a little bit tricky. And so just getting the waterfall in kind of the right half of the photo, and then these trees that are here over on the left there. Alright guys, check this out as well. So I moved down just a little bit, and down here I set up at a different angle, and that's got me a really nice view of this tree that is here. And I don't know what kind of tree this is, but anyways, it has a nice white bark on it. If you know what kind of tree it is, let me know. I don't really know anything about trees. But beautiful tree here, big old tree, as well as the waterfall, and the foreground looks a little bit nicer up here. It's still kind of in the shot, but it looks a little nicer. Now, in terms of the camera settings for this, like I said earlier, I wanted to blur the waterfall a little bit. So I turned the aperture all the way down in the aperture priority mode. So that gives me about a 25th of a second on the shutter speed. Now, anywhere below about 25th of a second is where you're really going to start seeing blurring in the water. You don't need to lower the shutter speed as much as you would think, because the water, it's moving really quickly, and so it's going to start to get blurry pretty early on. ISO just set to auto, so just letting the camera handle that for me. And then the other thing that I've done is I turned on the auto bracketing, and I've set it to set 3 shots at one stop apart. And I've also turned on the 2-second timer. It's actually turned itself off now because the camera's been off. But just turn on the 2-second timer right here. And with that auto bracketing and the timer on, what happens is when I push the shutter button right now, I'm going to take my hand off and let it steady. And then it's going to take all 3 of those shots for me automatically. Now, something that I do want to address as well is just how long it has been since I've done any landscape photography like this. I know I used to have a pattern of doing these once a month, and I really would love to get back to that, but it has been a while now for a variety of personal reasons. So first, in January, I moved to a new place, and so it took a while to, pack everything up and move and settle in. And then a little while after that, my sister got married, so I was traveling for that. And then more recently, had some remodeling done in my apartment, had to have oral surgery done, been recovering from that, and if I'm honest, I'm still not doing super well because I think I've got a bit of an ear infection going on right now. But things are starting to get a little bit more normal in my life, and I'm getting used to the way that my life is now, with living on my own and so forth. And so hopefully I can get back to doing some more photography like this, like I used to. I think I've been able to find some times and places that work for me from where I live now. So it's my hope to be able to get back to these more often, but I do apologize and want to acknowledge that it has been quite a while. I appreciate you guys sticking around and being patient with me during this time as I've been taking a little break from this, but hopefully I'm not too rusty, and today I can get back at it and get some good photos. All right, so there's starting to be a lot of people getting here now, so I don't know how much of this I'll video because I don't want to be in everybody's way, but I'm going to go to the base of the falls and shoot a couple of photos down there as well. They're going to be pretty similar looking to these in terms of, the camera setup and settings, so if there's anything really exciting, maybe I'll kind of voice over that later. I feel like this always ends up happening in my photo shoots where, I kind of have something in mind and I go, and I liked it. I liked the way that the waterfall looked from the overlook up there. And it was a little bit different of an angle on a waterfall than you normally get. But now that I'm here at the kind of more stereotypical waterfall shot, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I feel like that always happens at the end of a photo shoot. It's like I can't stop myself, and I find something and I'm like, oh, that's really good too. Just gonna spread out a little bit more here and stretch the tripod legs out further to steady it. It's a little bit easier to do that than putting the bag on it, and there's plenty of space here, so I shouldn't be too much in the way. Okay, so I really decided that for today there is one shot that I want to get here, and I think at this point have gotten. So let me show you that. So here's the view right here. It's kind of a wider angle. You've got the waterfall there, you've got some trees over here, and you can see the boardwalk path there in the edge, which I really love. And then there's this little tree here, which is just a cute little tree. Really love that. And then the pool at the corner here. And so here's the composition right here on the camera, and you can see all of that. I'll of course put it up on the screen as well. I've actually been standing under some kind of a drip here while I'm filming this as well, and taking this picture, so you probably can't see, but my head has gotten all wet. There's a bunch of water running down now because this cliff that's above me here, it's just dripping down, and oh, it got me again, and it's just dripping right on my head here. But I've gotten that shot, and so I think I'm going to, my lens cap dropped, but fortunately it wasn't something valuable. I think I'm going to head out of here for the day, but maybe another day, especially if we get a good rain like this, I will come over earlier again, earlier than it is now, and get some photos of the waterfall. Because right now it is 9:15, sunrise was 6:15, so 3 hours ago the sun rose. I got here more like 7:45, which was a pretty good time to get here. The park really opens at 8. There were already a few people here at 7:45, and then now it's quite a while after sunrise, and a lot of people are starting to arrive and be enjoying the park for themselves. So I'm going to get out of here for the day, but I think this is a good spot to maybe come back to in the future. So that is going to be all for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing some photography again. I know I enjoyed getting out and doing some photography again. It felt really nice to get out here. It's just, life has been kind of chaotic lately, and these kinds of photo shoots take a little bit more kind of mentally to prepare for and go do. It does provide some relaxation as well. It's kind of this weird thing where, you know, it takes a lot mentally to get ready for it, but then it's really relaxing mentally to do it. But anyways, I've really enjoyed getting out and doing some photography again, now that I've found some places and some times that actually work for me to do that. And so hopefully I'll be able to get back to doing this more often. Anyway though, that is all for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.